So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Dustin, Brandon, and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
For the first time, the month of July, a full episode of the Heel to the Face podcast is here. I'm joined to my right, as always, with Brandon Clement. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21, myself at KRock Jared. And next week, hopefully, Dustin Sadek rejoins us. But a lot to talk about coming off Extreme Rules, AEW, and, well, everything that so far has happened in the month of July. I had a little short, abbreviated Extreme Rules prediction show that was probably completely wrong, but either way, we've got a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. One thing I am very happy about, the only time I think we've talked in the last week or so, me and Brandon, when I mentioned about Brock Lesnar. He is your new Universal Champion. He cashed in at Extreme Rules this past Sunday in Philadelphia, setting up the rematch at SummerSlam between Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. Personally, let's just forget he's champion. I know you don't like that. What do you think of the matchup, though? Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, is that what you would want for your SummerSlam main event? Or would you like Brock Lesnar to face a new opponent come SummerSlam?
I would like Brock Lesnar off the show.
I know that's
completely.
what you would like, but you know what I think about it? I love that you have such a strong reaction to disliking Brock Lesnar.
I do.
Which is the reason why he's so great. Because
I just don't like him.
You don't have that stronger reaction towards Apollo Crews. You don't have that stronger reaction towards Buddy Murphy. I mean, Kevin Owens, we realize, does.
Apparently, yeah.
But you don't have that stronger reaction for some guys, and that's what WWE is banking on.
I just want something different. That's why. And you know what? It was funny. I was reading the social media things, about
well, it's something
Brock
different.
Lesnar.
Seth Rollins been champion now since WrestleMania.
Yeah, but spicing things up a little bit. Like, let's bring. I personally would like to see like a Seth Rollins and a Finn Balor. That's what I want to see.
Well, Finn Balor is taking some time off. He won't be around even at SummerSlam. That's kind of a disappointment that they gave him the time off right before a big pay-per-view event and not maybe after SummerSlam. But
I know. Seth
Rollins, Finn Balor, that would be a great match. I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, I mean, Drew McIntyre, let's do something with him. I think the whole Shane thing, I think it's slowly but surely going to start fading out. I don't see much more out of Shane. I don't think they're going to utilize him as much. I hope.
We know we're obviously going to get him at least at SummerSlam against Kevin Owens. Yeah, that's where we're headed here.
I think SummerSlam is going to, once SummerSlam hits, I think you're going to see Shane just, it's not like disappear because he'll still be around working for the company, but you won't see him as much. I think you'll see him more in the background. Now,
you did mention Drew McIntyre, though.
Yeah.
I want to get to that.
Yeah.
What do we make of Drew McIntyre? I mean, he is on such a losing streak, whether it be with or without Shane McMahon.
It's not good.
I don't understand how you do this. I've always been a proponent of the heels winning more matches because that's how you keep them stronger, and this is a case right here. You have him so strong, and you have him facing top talent, but yet he never, ever goes over.
No, and here's the thing, too, and to your point, watching Monday Night Raw, they had like the top 10 wrestlers in the Battle Royal. Drew McIntyre didn't make the top 10. I was very surprised by that. I know he's had
technically his win-loss record, he shouldn't make the top 10, but yes, he should make the top 10 based on
who he is and based on his the aura about him. Like he's still a great force. Like, no offense, but Big E should not be in it over Drew McIntyre. I'm just saying that's one name that pops in my head. I'm okay with Sami Zayn. That's fine. That's and I know
Big E and Sami Zayn were the two I looked at of going, really? All-Star Battle Royal?
I'm not as upset with Sami Zayn being put in over like a Drew McIntyre, but I am with Big E. Big E to me is a tag team specialist. I mean, they do a hell of a job. Him and Xavier Woods, they do a great job. I mean, they're 6-time champs now, I think it is.
Yeah, they're brand new champs after Extreme Rules. A lot of title changes at Extreme Rules. Shinsuke obviously taking the IC belt from Finn Balor. But still, I mean, I know Shinsuke is now the new Intercontinental Champion, but I feel that Shinsuke holding the Intercontinental belt, it feels a lot like the Cruiserweight belt right now, because that pre-show, I mean, that's essentially like 205 Live. It's a show that airs as part of a show I'm going to watch, but I technically really didn't watch the pre-show. I tuned in right before the pay-per-view event, found out via social media that Shinsuke won the championship, and I feel that the Intercontinental belt is on its, I don't know if it's on its way down or it's at a low point right now, but it is not what it was, let's say, when Finn Balor became champ.
Yeah, it's the Intercontinental title is just not where it's at. Shin, I'm hoping maybe they'll do something more with Shin, but this belt is not great right now. I think creative needs to do something creative and make it, make the aura the way it should be. I mean, going back with the inaugural champion, Pat Patterson, back in the day, all the way to now. I mean, over the years, it's been one of the great belts. I mean, a lot of Hall of Famers have had the belts. I mean, a lot of great names. I mean, Chris Jericho, which we'll get to him in a little bit with the AEW stuff, but Chris Jericho's a name that comes to mind. He's had every belt in WWE. I mean, you name a top tier talent ever, and they've probably held the Intercontinental title. If you think about it, the majority of them off the top of my head.
It used to be the stepping stone. It
Exactly.
was the second best belt in WWE.
Yes.
It was as Macho Man once said, the passport to the World Championship.
That's the best way to put it.
That's what the Intercontinental belt used to be. Shinsuke Nakamura, your current Intercontinental champ. Hopefully, like I said, they do something with it.
Now, I know we're kind of bouncing around. What was your take of Extreme Rules as a whole? I mean, did you
Not
like
a bad pay-per-view, better than Stomping Ground.
Yes.
Obviously, a much different crowd, a sold-out crowd in Philadelphia. Had some friends go down to the show and said there wasn't any tarped-off areas. Tickets were pretty high. I don't believe it's so much any of this stuff is based off of the pay-per-views itself. It's based off of the markets, because Philadelphia is a good example. So Philadelphia hosted Extreme Rules. That's a big market. Extreme Rules, not any bigger in my eyes, really, as a pay-per-view than Stomping Ground.
But Philadelphia, you know me, I'm not a big Philadelphia sports fan, obviously.
But it's a big market.
It's a big market.
Tacoma, Washington, not a big market.
But they're a fight market. Philadelphia's they're a fight market. I mean, ECW was there forever.
I want to say tickets to get in were $100. Now, I feel this was a better pay-per-view than Stomping Ground, but was it that much better of a pay-per-view that the buy-in for this pay-per-view was $100 versus Tacoma, buy one, get one free $20 tickets?
No, it wasn't.
I think it has to do with the market. I think that Tacoma was essentially a market that was going to get a house show, got a pay-per-view at the last minute, and I say the same thing here. Madison Square Garden can sell out for Monday Night Raw despite the fact that there is so much to do in New York City, and they have 20,000 seats to sell. But here in Syracuse, we have a hard time selling out for a house show when a WWE superstar coming to town should be a big deal. I mean, house shows aren't a big deal, but they should be in a market like Syracuse. Yeah, I never really understood that.
They're here in town, The thing is, though, a lot of wrestling fans, they know that, obviously, I mean, I should say the majority of fans should know that it's obviously scripted. So live shows are just, there are no storylines. For me,
you don't get the traveling fan for a house show. You only get the market itself. No one's going from Rochester to Syracuse.
You get the kids.
Yes.
You get the kids. It's more of a kid-friendly environment. Plus, it also helps, competitors, one-on-one or tag matches, work out the kinks before a big pay-per-view. Try new
like
moves,
I said, I don't
like
think
that.
the pay-per-view itself was so much
was
better.
Good. It was
but
good.
I think being in Philadelphia, being a big market, helped ticket sales. And overall, I think it was a better pay-per-view than Stomping Ground, clearly.
Oh, 100%.
Match of the night definitely stole the show. And who would have thought that these guys, other than Vince McMahon, because he's in love with big, burly guys, but Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, last man standing match, much better than I thought. I mean, that was a match I think that stole a card.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite matches of the night. I really liked Aleister Black and Cesaro from a wrestling perspective. I thought that was a good match.
Give it up for WWE and really making Black Mass a real good finisher.
Yeah, it looks great. And and then on I think it was on SmackDown this week.
He gave it to Cesaro again.
Cesaro's mouthpiece popped out. That was cool.
Yeah.
It's good sell job by Cesaro, of course.
Yeah, in a day and age right now where finishers are not getting the finisher treatment, where they're not they're just another move in a wrestler's repertoire. They're actually giving Black Mass a good, solid. If you hit it, it's done.
Everybody has a kick now. Everybody. We talked about this on previous episodes. Everybody has like a super kick. The Young Bucks do. Ziggler does. Kevin Owens does. Everybody does the kick, but not everybody does it like Aleister Black's little kick. That thing is nasty. That thing looks great, and nobody's getting up from Black Mass. He looked great. I think Aleister Black that'd be the kind of guy that I'd put the Intercontinental title on, because he's not. I don't feel like he's ready. I mean, he probably could take the Universal or the WWE Championship to the next level. But I think because of what we were talking about earlier with the Intercontinental title kind of floundering, I guess is the best way to say it, a guy like Aleister Black would put stock in the Intercontinental title again.
Now, we let off the show by saying, do you see anybody else facing Brock Lesnar as maybe a better match? And you personally said, I'd rather see Seth Rollins or Finn Balor.
Yeah.
But when I speak about Brock Lesnar being the champion, the reason I say I would kind of rather see him face someone else is because someone brought to my attention, and this is a good example, what are we now to do with Baron Corbin now that Seth Rollins is in the Brock Lesnar feud? Because they have seemed like had a set matchup for SummerSlam with the whole Baron Corbin hitting Becky Lynch. Now, personally, it sounds kind of strange and wild to me. Could WWE, now that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are running things and things are getting a little more attitude-based and TV-14, Seth Rollins obviously facing Brock Lesnar for the belt. Could we get Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin in a match, maybe at SummerSlam or in the near future?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
the TVPG angle would have Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin, Seth defending Becky.
Honor,
but if we're going more of a TV-14 angle, you could have, and we saw it obviously at Extreme Rules with Baron Corbin putting his hands on Becky Lynch.
The end of days.
Yeah. Could we get Baron Corbin? Becky Lynch is clearly somebody who, she's the man. She's the toughest girl in the locker room right now. Obviously, with Ronda Rousey being out of there.
As long as all parties consent to it, obviously, which
I think
it'll be fine.
I know that there's a lot of groups out there who don't like these intergender mix-ups. But as long as that's the thing about wrestling. As long as the parties involved are okay with it, then I have no problem with it happening. Obviously, in real-world fighting, it's different. But if Becky Lynch and Baron Corbin are fine with it, then I don't care what the outsiders who are watching say about it.
A lot of people don't know this, but Johnny Wrestling and Candice LeRae used to travel on the road and wrestle against each other. I mean, obviously, they're married and everything. Mm-hmm. They wrestled against each other. It's a man and a woman. As long as it's not brutal, it's just a match. It is what it is. As long as everybody's cool with it, I think it's fine. I mean, Becky's one of those.
China obviously held her own back in the day, winning the Intercontinental belt, going for winning the European belt.
China's a special case because China was not your average woman, so to speak. I mean, not to say Becky's like an average woman because she's a bad girl, so to speak, or a bad man, as she likes to be called. Mm-hmm. China was she was a beast. And the thing for any sort of groups out there who are against this, you have to remember, too, that it is entertainment. And one thing about the entertainment is, just like any superhero movies or anything, the outcome of the matches are probably going to be more pro-women in the end, meaning this isn't going to be a match where a guy just dominates a girl. It's probably going to be a match where the girl ends up beating up the guy and getting the victory. Yeah.
I would be curious and very interested. Baron Corbin doesn't have a lot going on right now. Obviously, now that Seth Rollins is taken out of the picture, and just like Drew McIntyre, you give him all this power and you give him all this authority when it comes to demanding matches and being credible in these matches against big-time talent, but then he just always comes out the loser.
Yeah, no, it's true. And here's the thing, too. I want to transition to a guy that I would say ever since we've done this show the last couple of years, we've kind of harped on as hang up your boots, stop wrestling,
they have a new T-shirt out. Did you see this?
Which the T-shirt?
It is the Graveyard Dogs.
Okay.
So do you make... I know you're about to talk about The Undertaker here.
Yes.
So what do you make of... Is this going to be something? I see that they just came out with a new T-shirt. Obviously, they tagged it Extreme Rules. I thought that was a one and done, but it says they've got a shirt that's called the Graveyard Dogs, highlighting both The Undertaker and Roman Reigns.
I could see a little bit more to this. And as, continuing with the
hang
Undertaker,
up his boots.
I will say this. For the first time in a long time, and I'm not afraid to admit this, Undertaker didn't look too bad on Sunday. He didn't look awful. I thought he did pretty well. Looked a hell of a lot better than the Goldberg match. But I have to say, I mean, if you're going to have him doing matches like this where he doesn't have to, if he's in a tag team setting, this wasn't bad. It's tough for me to say that because I've been all over the Undertaker thing for years, and we've talked about it from our first episode all the way to today. We've always talked, Undertaker, just go away, go away.
Yeah, I mean,
he looked okay. He looked
okay, but still, it doesn't make it any better the fact that he's performing at Extreme Rules in the first match of the night.
But I'm okay with
a meaningless tag team match, essentially.
But I'm okay with how he wrestled, though, considering that he's in his 50s now. He didn't look bad. If he has more matches like this, I'm not saying I want him to be full-time. I'm not saying that. But if it's like that, I'm okay. Yeah, I just can't believe I'm saying that because I haven't said that in all the years we've been doing the show.
I do kind of wonder. I mean, obviously with the Saudi Arabia shows, I knew he was going to be a part of those with the money. But now that he's a part of Extreme Rules, you kind of do wonder, well, where are they going with this? What does Undertaker what has he agreed to, essentially? Because obviously it's his party agreeing to competing in Extreme Rules. Is there more to the Undertaker thing than we thought? Obviously the Saudi Arabia thing, we've seen those before. I know what he agreed to. That's just a one-time off show. But like I said, seeing him on Extreme Rules, seeing him on the Raws and SmackDowns prior to the pay-per-view event, it makes me wonder, How much more, and obviously the T-shirt I just mentioned, how much more Undertaker are we about to see? What does the future hold here for the Undertaker in the near future?
I'm curious, because if you're making T-shirts, you're trying to sell merch. Obviously, there's going to be more to it. I mean, I don't know how.
And obviously, you didn't have Roman Reigns win that match to go one-on-one against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, so it makes me think, are we going to have another tag match?
I mean, at Undertaker's point in his career, I'd say a tag match is the best way to go. I don't think he should be in a singles match anymore. I mean, it didn't look bad as a tag team. I mean, he did enough to look okay. I mean, he did what he needed to do. He didn't look awful. So, if it's tag team, I'm okay with it. But it sucks though, because if you're going to use Roman Reigns like that, that's not the right way to use him. I don't think it is. I don't personally think it is. I think Roman Reigns should. At this point in Roman Reigns' career, he's still in the top of his game. He should not be essentially a tag team guy. He shouldn't be. He's a singles guy. Let him. And I think there's going to be repercussions to what he said on SmackDown this past week too, because obviously there was a fine or whatever, fine, quote unquote. There's going to be more to it than that. And I have to say, it's kind of going off of Roman Reigns kind of spouting off what he spouted off at the whole open forum, with Shane McMahon on SmackDown. The town hall. Sorry, open forum is town hall. Same difference. It wasn't really an open forum or town hall, anyways, because anyone that spoke bad, it was got
the mic cut.
Got the mic cut. I mean, Byron Saxton always he makes a good point. He's kind of how we're watching. He's like, yeah, well, of course, if you want to say something that's not pro McMahon, then they cut your mic. Now, I have to tell you, I'm so enjoying this whole Kevin Owens, kind of like he's,
the pipe bomb.
Yes, the pipe bomb was fantastic, by the way. We didn't have a show last week. That pipe bomb was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. That was awesome. And then what he's been doing lately, it reminds me a little bit of the old Stone Cold stuff back in the day. This is good stuff. I hope they really continue to do this.
Well, I think they were trying to go off a little CM Punk there, which is kind of ironic because of the fact that one person in that feud is currently best in the world, and one person in that feud is dropping the pipe bomb, and that used to be one person back in the day, and his name was CM Punk. He was both those guys. But
it's like I would say this. It's like a combination of Stone Cold and CM Punk. I like it. I think it's great. I think having Kevin Owens with this new attitude, this is what Kevin Owens should have been doing all along. Well, he's just how he is. He's just that talented.
Well, since Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff have taken over so far, things have been decent for the most part.
Yes.
SmackDown rose above 2 million viewers for the first time in a while. Fox is probably loving that. So the ship was starting to sink about a month or two prior to WWE moving over to Fox. And, well, Eric Bischoff came in, and he's starting to right the ship back. So it looks like it's going to be on course when they do return to or hit up on Fox this upcoming fall as a decent show, a show that was worth, I don't know if it was really worth the billions of dollars they paid for it, but either way, they're paying something for it, and they're going to get something good out of it, and it looks like it's only going to get better.
Speaking of all the shows this week, any thoughts on the Natalya match, the number one contenders match? I could have heard this wrong, but I thought during that match, the fans in Long Island were chanting, "This is awful." Did you catch that?
Well, if that has to do with what Alexa then said about being disrespectful, she sent out a tweet after that match about the fans being disrespectful.
That's probably what it was.
At that match. So, yes, you probably heard that correctly.
I thought I heard
she was not happy with the crowd reaction. Alexa Bliss sent out a tweet there. I mean, I don't really know why they would say this is awful. I mean, there wasn't really anything. I mean, it wasn't the best women's match I've ever seen, but it wasn't the worst.
No, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was okay. I mean,
and personally, I'd like to see Natalya become champion once again. I think she's due.
It's fresh, and I gotta have a quick rant really quick. I'm so sick and tired of Charlotte just getting everything just handed to her on a silver platter.
Well, she's back on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's like, come on, WWE. Can we just stop with the narrative? Yes, we get it. It's Rick's daughter. What does she have? 8, 9 titles now? Like, can we just do something else? This is another reason why people are starting to, yes, the ratings went up a little bit. Yeah, I get that. I mean, Bischoff and Heyman, they're great. But this is why people are tuning out, because AEW is doing something with women that WWE hasn't even done yet. Like, the women's matches were pretty good overall in these last few AEW shows. Aside from Brandy Rhodes, I don't think she's that great of a wrestler. I think she's more of a mouthpiece, honestly. But the Japanese wrestlers, women's wrestlers, are fantastic. I mean, the AEW is doing it the right way. Now, I want to ask you, what did you think about the fight of the, or was it a fight?
Fight for the Fallen.
Fight for the Fallen.
I'll say this much. It was a unique setup. I enjoyed the look. It was at, so obviously, I think all amphitheaters around the country pretty much look the same, concert amphitheaters. It's summertime, so a lot of you probably out there have been to your local amphitheater, your concert, outdoor concert venue with the lawn seating and all that. So similar to the look here, they put it like the ring was in where the pit would be, and then they had seats on the stage. So I found it to be a very unique setup for the pay-per-view. Something unique, something you don't normally see, not the traditional arena. Plus, you had the outdoor feel of it, turning from day to night. The pay-per-view overall, AEW hasn't even been around that long, and it seems like we're already in a phase where they have major pay-per-views and they have minor pay-per-views. Like AEW, I'll say this much. Don't do what Impact Wrestling did. What Impact Wrestling did is they created a WrestleMania. They decided that Bound for Glory, this random pay-per-view, was going to be their WrestleMania. Don't do that, because it looks like already you have WrestleManias in your card, and then you can essentially, like what WCW did. Starrcade was the big WCW event because necessarily it was the first big WCW event.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And same with WrestleMania. The reason why the Royal Rumble isn't WrestleMania is because WrestleMania was the first, and they kind of built around that. So far it seems like Double or Nothing, and the next pay-per-view, All Out, are big AEW events, and the two shows they've had so far have felt like Stomping Grounds, Extreme Rules. They felt like build-ups to those shows. So build off of that, meaning that All Out is your next big event. Maybe in the future, maybe that can be your essential WrestleMania, because for the second year in a row, it's getting a lot of hype. It seems like the big event, and even though AEW is having events prior to it, people still know that that's the next big one to watch. And now, obviously, the Double or Nothing event that happened, I could see that maybe being the WrestleMania, because that was the first ever pay-per-view event, and that had a lot of hype. But Fight for the Fallen, it felt like an Extreme Rules, in your house pay-per-view, if you will.
Yeah, it was a good show.
It was an all right show. The matches were decent.
I thought it was better than Extreme Rules.
You thought it was better than Extreme Rules. I don't know necessarily if it was better than Extreme Rules.
It's great.
I mean, the main event I thought was pretty good with Cody and Dusty Rhodes. I think the big issue that everyone's having, obviously, and it's kind of people loving to look for this stuff, myself included, because it is a new company that's trying to shoot for the moon, but they had some production issues going on there at the end and during the show. Subtitles just popping up in the middle of the show, that kind of stuff, showing that don't come out and say you're the biggest thing in wrestling. Actually go out and earn it. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing. They put on a better wrestling show than Extreme Rules. I thought, honestly, I loved Shima and Omega. That was a great match. That lasted, I didn't even know it lasted. I thought it lasted about 15, 20 minutes. So I was close.
Yeah, the main event lasted 31 minutes, 31:27.
Yeah, I mean, that was fine. I mean, I thought overall it was a good show. I thought it was better than Extreme Rules. The only downside with these pay-per-views, I mean, I get it. They're using like Bleacher Report Live and everything. I mean, I know they're not going. I'm not asking for an AEW network. I promise you that. But it does sometimes. I wish they would do it in a different way, because not like Bleacher Report Live app. That was my one gripe. I will say that, because we were talking about it before the show. That's my one gripe about it. Is I think they need to put it on a different platform. That's that. I mean, even if they do it on pay-per-view, make it a cheap pay-per-view. I mean, free is great. I'm fine with that. But maybe do something a little bit different.
Again, I'm not putting any sort of eggs in any basket until AEW is on TV. And I was actually watching an interview they had with Khan after the event was over. And I think somebody did ask him, and I don't know if any of you know this or it's gone out there before, but I was not fully aware, but it has been said, I think Cody Rhodes actually said it too as well, that AEW is going to be a live traveling show. So it's not going to be like Impact Wrestling. They already asked them that if it's going to be a weekly show from a taped area. And they said, no, it's going to be live every week, on road, traveling location. Cool. So when that stuff starts and I start to see what kind of crowds are in front of, what kind of events they're doing, then I think I'm going to get on the AEW train. Right now, I've kind of watched Double or Nothing event, and I'll probably watch All Out from start to finish. These other two events, because, you know what I mean, like some have, one has John Moxley, one does not, you know, that kind of thing. Some have Chris Jericho in an official capacity, some do not. Yeah. You kind of wonder, and they feel like house show. They feel like in your house pay-per-views. So I've kind of just watched them in that sense.
Which is fine. I'm okay with it. I mean, the matches themselves were good. I thought overall match-wise, it was a better show.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like NXT. I think AEW's biggest competition, I've said it from the get-go, is is NXT, not WWE. I know WWE and NXT, they're interchangeable. NXT is under the WWE moniker.
NXT is a very similar
I feel
product.
that's the audience you're going against, and that's why over this weekend, WWE put that 10th anniversary of the Evolve show right against AEW. And not like a WWE show.
I didn't
because
watch.
that's the same audience.
Did you watch?
I did watch part of the Evolve show.
I haven't seen it yet.
A decent show. Again, not maybe to the crowd or the promotion that AEW has. But, I mean, either way, we're talking a decent show. You had Drew Gulak and Adam Cole on the show to give it that more NXT feel. But overall, I mean,
haven't seen it. I haven't
so
seen
far
much.
that's all I've seen from AEW. But that's, to me, AEW feels like an indie wrestling company. Like a Ring of Honor, like an NXT, it doesn't feel like WWE.
Which
so
is
I'm
fine.
waiting for
That's
the week.
fine.
Well, that's their competition, though. They want you to feel like WWE in a regard.
Well, I don't. They don't want to. They don't want.
If they're just going to be another
WWE.
NXT, then why exist? We already have NXT.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're not going to be WWE. WWE is their own. They do their own thing. A lot of people that are WWE fans are, and tell me I'm wrong. A lot of WWE fans are. They watch it because. You know, they go to and you're just like you. You go to you know back in the day you used to go to the 2CW stuff. You want to get your wrestling fix on a bigger platform. That's why a lot of WWE fans are the way they are. This is for the fans like yourself, like me, that like wrestling.
Well, I'm just saying, if that's the case, though, then we already have that. I'm not saying that they should be a wrestling company like WWE with more TVPG storylines. I'm saying that they've got to feel like WWE in the regard of the production value, because if I turn it on and it's an internet pay-per-view, and I understand this event felt a little bit bigger because of the venue, but the Fighter Fest, I mean, that felt no bigger to me than a Ring of Honor show. I couldn't tell the difference between Ring of Honor or even like an Evolve show.
Here's
Really,
the thing. I think Cody and the whole crew there. I think they're doing it right. You don't want to make it look bad. You're not going to sell 20,000 tickets right away. I mean, they've been selling out venues that are smaller pretty quick. I think Cody, what he's going to do is what WWE did back in the day. They had an in-your-house pay-per-view at the frickin' War Memorial, which seats what for a hockey 6,000. I mean. That's okay. They're taking steps, and then if they know they can sell out bigger arenas, they'll go to the bigger cities because they're going to these smaller cities in Florida and whatnot with these little amphitheaters. That's fine. It still gets a decent crowd there, and it looks good because aesthetically it's full. WWE, besides Extreme Rules, which you got some inside reports from people that you know went into Philadelphia, I mean, that was sold out. Great. But a lot of the shows you've been to,
no, they're not
sold out. So aesthetically, I think they're doing it the right way. They're making their steps. I'm not expecting them to be MSG, regular
not
show on a
just that. I'm just
Tuesday.
saying from an entire production value.
Here's the thing. They don't have to be WWE production. They can stick to what they're doing. As long as the production's not garbage completely, then it's fine. I don't need it to be WWE, it doesn't have to be like that.
I understand. Let's close the show with this. So we finally saw, after 2 months, a way to write Finn Balor off TV, and that was Bray Wyatt has made his official in-ring return. Yowie wowie. Bray Wyatt is back with the Firefly Funhouse. He's out of the Firefly Funhouse, made his return on Raw. He put his move on Finn Balor. That's what's essentially going to send Finn Balor into his vacation where he's essentially going to get married. But
Congrats.
The question with this now, Bray Wyatt's back and Finn Balor's gone. So what are we doing with Bray Wyatt?
Hopefully more than what they've done in the last few years. I don't know. I really don't know at this point. They need to do more than what they've done the last few years with Bray. So far, it's off to a good start. Now,
that is the longest amount of vignettes I've ever seen anybody get before they finally made their debut.
Obviously, they're making it a big deal then. I mean, obviously, if you're going to have these vignettes as long as you have, they're obviously doing something. I mean, you got the powers of Paul Heyman and you got, Eric Bischoff. Those guys are all, I mean, they're going to do something, I think, with Bray, which he's unfairly not gotten. I think he's finally going to get his dues, and he's finally going to have a better pay-per-view record, too. So I'm hoping for the best. I think it'll be fun.
The question is, and I don't know if this is the case, but what if you threw him against Aleister Black at SummerSlam? Would that be bad for both those guys because someone has to lose?
It's too soon.
Too soon for that?
Yes.
Okay.
I could see something maybe, I don't know, maybe a Survivor Series thing. Honestly,
so do you have any idea for who he could face, let's say, come SummerSlam?
Come SummerSlam, at this point, it's too early to tell because we don't know. I mean, the only logical person would be Finn, but obviously Finn's going to be out of the picture. I don't know at this point.
Do you think he's going to wrestle with or without the mask on during the matches? Do you think that's just going to be like the lamb mask, or do you think that's going to be something?
Oh, I hope he does.
Performs
I
with?
hope he performs with the mask. I think it'll be. I think it'd be awesome.
I'm kind of wondering, so they've really gone the dark angle with Bray Wyatt lately. Remember when he first came in and with the vignettes, he had a very soft angle. So I wonder, are we going to go back and forth with that, or do you think they're going to stay with the dark angle all the time?
I hope they stay with the dark angle.
See, I want to see them go back and forth. I want to see him come to Monday Night Raw last week pretending like he never was on Raw the week before.
I mean, that would be interesting. I'll give you that. That would be interesting.
Like going back and forth with the two different people.
I mean, if they're going to do that, I hope they don't do it as badly as they've done with Finn Balor, where like he has his he does 95% of his matches as Finn Balor, and then like every so often he comes out as the demon.
I want the character to be like a half and half.
Yeah, if it's like
I want the character to be like two different wrestlers that don't even know each other.
If they do it the right way, half and half, I'm good with it. But if they're going to be screwy like with how they do it with Finn Balor, just leave him at evil all the time.
So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. We'll be back next week with another full edition of the program, hopefully with Dustin Sadek as well, as we're building up to SummerSlam, an early SummerSlam this year. It's not August 20th or 25th. It's August 11th, which means it's about 3 weeks from right now. Make sure you follow the program on Twitter at Heel to the Face. Follow the guy to my right on YouTube at Icebreaker21 on Twitter. Follow myself on Twitter and Instagram at KRockJared. We'll be back next week with another edition of Heel to the Face podcast, hopefully with some more Bray Wyatt answers and hopefully with some more SummerSlam build-up. Till then, we'll see you.